What's up, Sagittarius gang? Welcome to my channel, Tarot by the Intuitive Teacup. My name's Annie, and we're going to read your tarot cards here today. Anyone and everyone is welcome into this reading, of course, but it will be geared more towards Sagittarius rising. So Sagittarius, Sun and Moon, Venus signs, you're welcome here. Highly encourage you to check out your rising sign too if that is something different than Sagittarius. Reason being, I'm using more kind of some astrology this time around with the zodiac wheels, so again, more geared towards rising signs. But let's try and have some fun. These are general tarot messages. I just ask you come in with an open heart, an open mind. Take away only what resonates, what motivates, empowers, inspires you. That's what I want to do here on my channel. If you're not feeling that way, it might not be your message. Feel free to click off, or it may resonate with you at a later time, okay? Other than that, yeah, we'll have some fun. We'll read some cards and get you some, hopefully some helpful messages. Let's see. You have a lot of people coming up this week. All right, so bottom of your deck. Eight of Cups, which typically talks about walking away from something that at one point in time was emotionally satisfying, something that nurtured your soul, your creativity, your romantic life. It's not to say it's bad. This has different connotations. It's first and foremost, it's a huge card of bravery, of being able to walk away from what is familiar. Whether you enjoy it or not is an entirely different story. But ultimately, it's saying you have to sort of go where your passion leads you. That's why he's wearing that red cloak, he or she, right? So it's saying we've built something here and it's served us up to a certain point, but we can't stay there. Eights in tarot, the number 8, right? They're all about liberation. So for some of you, this could be liberation from an emotional attachment. Cups can sometimes indicate, money flow too. So liberation from a job that maybe it was satisfying, maybe it paid the bills, but maybe you're chasing a passion elsewhere. Maybe you're chasing something different that you would enjoy more. So what are you walking away from? Let's see if we can find out in this tarot reading. And I do lastly want to note, right, your scenarios out there are all going to be a little bit different. So just because you're walking away from something now doesn't mean you won't return to it later. But I would say at minimum, you're going to come back with a new perspective and bring something more to it than what you currently have. Others of you may choose to part ways with something entirely because it's just not fulfilling anymore, right? And so is life, full of change, right? All right, Sagittarius. So let me look at this. Oh, get comfortable here. All right, what shall we start with? Okay, so it feels like your houses of the self, sort of houses 1, 5, and 9, which are very indicative or associated with fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. The house of sort of your inner core, your essence, your ego, your identity, how you express yourself, things of that sort. You have two cards that are a little bit tricky. Again, needing to release something if it's become quite burdensome. But this also says to me, but we might be holding on to it out of fear or just simply for the wrong reasons, thinking we need this. It's familiar. What would we do without it versus what would letting go of that do for you? What would that liberate you from? With the devil, probably something that you don't necessarily... I heard babysit. Something that you don't want to babysit anymore. Something that you don't want to... Something that maybe just isn't healthy for you, right? And again, it could have been something that was very good and inspiring at one point in time, but I think we're sort of tapped out on the positive energy, and so now it might actually be weighing you down for the worst. Then coming up sort of in your 9th house over here, which is where planet Mars is transiting, your higher mind. You seem to be getting familiar with this new concept or this idea that there's something else out there. And I mean, as a Sagittarius, I think generally speaking, you guys always know that there is something out there, right? That more optimistic, it only gets better with time type mentality. Though you're human, right? So it's very possible that you're mourning the loss of something in your life, whether that's a job or a friend or this or that. It doesn't have to be a literal death, right? That's not what I mean. But mourning or not wanting to acknowledge a very necessary release. Because in a sense, maybe you're addicted to it. Maybe you are obsessed with the idea that you can fix everything. And so by letting this go, you may be twisting it to believe that you couldn't fix it. And so you're a failure. But again, that's your perception, but it's not necessarily true. A lot of you, I think in the long run, you're going to see that this card essentially indicates transformation is looming. It's on the horizon. The card number 12 goes to card number 13, which is the death card. Death being very associated with scorpionic energy, transformation, death, and rebirth. So there's definitely an area in your life that with a release, you're making room for something else, but I think you're sort of teetering on the, but am I really ready for this? Because clearly there's something of value you see in this, but I'm not sure, I'm trying to phrase this in a way that, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I guess I would challenge you to try and see it from another perspective, not just, it almost feels like you feel like you owe somebody something, or like you have to pay your dues to earn your happiness. That's almost what like the vibe I get from this. I don't know if that resonates with all of you out there, but yeah, whatever you're pouring your energy into, whether that's person, place, or thing, what's being met on the other side, whoever is receiving that energy, they're sort of lackluster too. So I mean, this energy does definitely have this reading rather has some heavy cards, some heavier energy in it. However, I'm here to give you solutions, not just problems. So whenever the devil comes up, that's a red flag to me that we might be holding on to something out of either comfortability or familiarity, but it's stopping our growth. And ultimately, it's not the same thing to Scorpio. In fact, this may be related to the Scorpio reading if you strongly resonate with that sign. The only constant in life is change. Change is inevitable. So fearing the unknown, while it's a very humanistic thing to do, it really doesn't serve us. So if you can become consciously aware of what you may be avoiding out of fear or not wanting to acknowledge out of, I don't know what else it would be, comfortability with what is, I think you can start to open up your mind, which is really cool that this is falling in the 9th house, which is about your mental exploration. It also has to do with physical travel. Some of you may be envisioning your next trip, your next travel plans, your next adventure, right? Possibly even some of you may be exploring, I don't know if it's going back to school, but with the death card showing up in your 8th house, you may be doing a lot of like spiritual transformation. You may, in the coming months, you may find yourself really fascinated by new studies of new concepts, but almost like religions or spirituality. You may be delving deeper into something that almost like self-help type stuff, but there may be there may be like religion attached to it or something like that, but you're diving deeper into some sort of concepts that is going to allow you to get comfortable with major transformation happening in your life. Very cool. Very, very important message there too. Let's see. And especially because the sun has moved into Cancer. Happy Cancer season. Wherever the sun is in the zodiac, it's like a big old spotlight on that area of your life. So for you, again, it's your 8th house of sex and death. I know that's kind of a weird combination, right? But more or less it's the merging, whether it's the merging of bodies or the merging of bank accounts. Eventually something is produced from that merger. That's sort of 8th house activities. Associated with Scorpio. So again, huge area of transformational potential, or I don't know if that's a clunky way of phrasing it, but in terms of your soul work, your shadow side, your spiritual work, and Venus is going through there too. So some of you may actually end up either investing money in some sort of, again, almost like self-help course or study. You may be practicing something that is more esoteric, like tarot reading or something, or even something like psychology. All those kind of, I don't want to use the word occult, but more or less, but you may actually be using it for a higher purpose to help transform or change people's identity, their minds, their, in a good way, of course, right? Not in a manipulative way, but... And the thing is, this may start off as something you just do to help yourself, but it may actually lead you to something bigger. You may join forces or collaborate with whoever, a business partner, a close friend, using some sort of skill or tools, even some new language, foreign language that you're starting to utilize. And what I'm getting at, it's setting you up for some sort of major thing you're going to do in your future, but I'm not sure you're totally aware of it. It's like the stars are aligning for you, even though you're not realizing it. And with that, something is trying to exit your life. So you can fight it, you can cling to it, but ultimately, if you feel like, the divine is asking you to release, I would say have faith that is really for a purpose. Because more or less, I would say the longer you fight it, the more difficult and drawn out it's going to be. But you have 3 cards indicating, really more than 3 cards indicating, something here is closing out, especially in a relationship. Now, that could be business or romantic, right? I always say that because that's really what 7th house is. 7th house has something to do with your contracts, whether it is contract by marriage or contract by business client type stuff, right? And even if it's not official, even if it's not an ink, more or less like a soul contract, if you will. We have two people who are very much at odds here. It might be you and another air sign for that matter, a Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, but it doesn't have to be. You have a full moon that will be occurring in Capricorn. This is going to take place in your second house, Sagittarius rising. So something is coming to a culmination or a completion, something that maybe you had started working on back earlier in the year. Back in Capricorn season, which would have been like early January-ish. There could be a really great business collaboration headed your way. So it's funny, I think Scorpio had this card in the exact same position, and you also have some Scorpio energy coming through here. So possible some of you may have Venus in Scorpio. If that's not the case, there could be, yes, it could be a creative collaboration, but it doesn't even have to be creative. Any sort of money deal involving partnering up or joining forces with someone, even possibly just getting a loan, getting extra finances with the Sun and Venus moving through that area. Eighth house also has to do with money that you acquire that comes to you, not necessarily through your own hard work and labor, blood, sweat, and tears. This would be more like loans and finances, things from the government, inheritance, that sort of thing. So again, there's a big focus on there, especially money-wise with the Sun and Venus there. And whatever this is, I like it. It's a cozy little collaboration. It's a good fit. There's a lot of compatibility there. Let's pull a card on that. Let's see. It could be that you're getting out of a business contract with a longtime partner, and it's just, again, it's run its course. This may not have shown up yet for you with that full moon culmination happening in your second house. It's possible that a new business collaboration comes along and it ends up being something very positive and very beneficial to your life. Yeah, it's really interesting. So with this new, love it, Wheel of Fortune, your money houses actually look very good to me. But it's saying to me something does need to be released in this scenario to make room for what is good. For some of you too, it's not that you're scrapping it entirely. It's not that you started a business and it failed, so you're just leapfrogging to something else. I think I'm wanting to use the word like problem solving or solution oriented. There's something that you've already started to build, but through that mathematical equation of getting to the end point, I think you realize you need to subtract, or you need to take away, or you need to rehaul or redo, or maybe let go of the people who aren't helping your team and bring new people on board who see your vision, who see your idea. That's very big. I'm wanting to use the word visionary for you in the next several months. So that, I think that's why Five of Cups is coming up. This is sometimes crying over spilled milk, and I don't mean to say that in a condescending way. That's just a terminology we use with the Five of Cups. I like to call it my total eclipse of the heart, because you go through that moment where you're just like, oh my God, life is over. It's very dramatic when you're in it, but with time you're going to see, yes, we've lost a little bit. We've spilled 3 cups. We're not going to get that water back, right? It's gone to the land. It's being recycled. Very, very much like Death card. It's regenerating in another way. But with that, there's 5 cups here, so 2 still remain. This is not like a, fuck it, get rid of it, it's not working, I don't want any of it. This is more like, okay, that didn't quite go as I anticipated. I'm going to give myself a moment to to mourn the loss of it, right? But ultimately, there's 2 cups that remain, and I think that's what this is. Some of you may have worked at some sort of business entity with a person, and you guys both decided to quit and form your own company. So you're still maybe utilizing the skills or ideas from that business, but you guys maybe jumped ship and now you're doing your own thing. And I will say, in the long term, it bodes very well. A lot of public recognition. I almost see this as you taking the mic back. If you felt like your voice was being silenced or not heard, or just simply your ideas were not being utilized and incorporated, you may be like, psh, I can do this on my own. Like, I don't need this person to tell me that I'm doing a good job or this or that. Yeah, especially career-wise, I would say there's going to be a very key collaborator or a partner who may help you get to that kind of Ace of Wands recognition. But I also take that to mean there's a really, I know this is cheesy, but like a magical collaboration in your future. So don't be afraid to release what is trying to exit your life anyway. There's no use crying over spilt milk, right? It doesn't help us. I would say allow yourself the grieving process, if that makes sense to some of you. In time, you're going to realize you didn't need this anyway. It wasn't meant for you. And I know that sounds really harsh because some of you may be choosing to read this in terms of a romantic connection, which you can do. This is your reading for sure. But even so, I would say it might be too soon for you to hear this, but if you are grieving the loss of the ending of a relationship, and I don't mean by death, obviously, I mean by separation, divorce, breakup, that type of thing. Again, the wound still might be very fresh, so allow yourself to heal. Don't rush the healing process, and it's not linear, right? Some days you're going to have good days and bad days, and that happens, right? Be good to yourself. Over time, the spark, the magic, the chemistry, the connection that you feel with someone else is going to be so much more than this. More or less, I want to say it's going to blow it out of the water. And I don't want to be unkind, too, because for some of you, you're not necessarily dealing with a toxic ex. You may be in a situation where, for some reason or another, there's some heavy energy attached to this. And so this isn't about moving on just so you can badmouth your ex, right? And I don't necessarily think you would do that, but I'm just trying to give benefit of the doubt here. So by me saying it was never meant to be yours, this next thing is going to blow it out of the water, that doesn't minimize what you had with this person in the past. It just simply means that it isn't your ultimate destination in this lifetime, right? It absolutely served you. It was a platform and you learned a lot from it, especially emotional lessons, learning to value and respect your emotions and your feelings, that sort of thing. Anyway, but with that, there's something in your future that at minimum I would say you're going to be very, very excited about. So don't get too caught up in what is lost. You can acknowledge it, you can grieve it, absolutely, but that's not where the story ends. Something absolutely closes out. It may or may not be with a Capricorn, but from that, it transforms into something that is more, I'm hearing the word spiritually enlightened. I know that sounds like kind of a hippy-dippy, but like heavy, profound word, but that's what it feels like. There's you have several cards. You have the Devil, the Five of Cups, the Ten of Swords, and the Death card. Those are heavier energies. Again, they're not bad cards. They just indicate there's major upheaval and transformation happening. Some of you, it's like you're just on the cusp of starting to experience that. So again, it goes around, right? That's not where it ends. From there, that's when you start hitting this, and it's like, wait a minute, something bigger is on the horizon here. Something is transforming. And the thing is, I think you know it to be true internally. Inside, I think you're already feeling that. It's just what you're feeling internally is not matching what you're seeing externally. So I think you are slowly but surely making strides to bring sort of that new chapter into the 3D, into fruition, right? I think you might still be... It's like you're trying to manifest it, but I think you're getting really tripped up with sort of this darker shadow side energy of fear. Well, am I ready to lose this person? Am I ready to leave this job? Well, what if I do? What are the repercussions? The timeline is up to you, Sag. I'm not here to tell you what to do or who to do or you know what I mean, but I would say there's inevitable change coming in. So rather than doing glass half empty, glass half full would serve you, not just blind optimism, not just, oh, whatever, I don't want to think about the heavy stuff. It's not that. I think you're thinking about the heavy stuff a lot. I think inevitably there's some major stuff that you're working through, again, especially internally. That will start to transform externally, but it has to start within you. From there, though, it gets really, really beautiful. Again, the Hanged Man I actually like because it does indicate transformation. It also does ask you how long are you willing to stay in what is familiar, the familiarity, the comfort zone. That upside down 4 he makes with his legs, rest, repose, right? It indicates kind of fourth house activity. So whether it's literal or not, the idea of the house, it's your safety zone, it's your ground, it's your land, it's your territory. You know it, it's familiar. But I think, not surprisingly, with Mars in your 9th, there's more adventures to be had outside the home. So it's Cancer season. It's a great time to get cozy and be in the safety zone for a bit. I would say Leo season, which is in another, month or so, there's going to be significant shifts in you. It's almost like I'm hearing a grand entrance. You're making a grand entrance into the next chapter of your life. I think this is dealing with whatever lingers from you leaving that old version of your life behind, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be huge, life-changing things, but I would argue with this energy, this feels pretty big. This feels pretty important. Yeah, you have a new start in your career coming up. Some of you are going to start dating a Capricorn, or a Scorpio for that matter. There's good times with friends up ahead too. I said the same thing. This is actually really similar to the Scorpio reading. You may be seeking spiritual advice or wisdom right now. And to me, this is saying your friends are a beautiful sounding board. Obviously, go to people you trust and people you feel you can actually open up to and be vulnerable around. I don't think you need to share everything with everyone. I actually think that would be bad advice. But your confidants, your close, your soul tribe of friends or whoever that is for you, it could be a sibling even. There's spiritual wisdom in the hearts and the words of those you love the most. So utilize that. Take advantage of that. There are people around you who love and support you and want you to do well. So don't feel like, I think this is important, don't feel like you have to solve this all on your own. Don't feel like you're completely alone and you have to be responsible for all of this, because you don't. It's not your responsibility, right? Lean on people. They are willing to help you through tough times. You want on this Knight of Cups? There's definitely a message here of like you do have trouble opening up. You only get so far and then you close yourself off again and you start, it's like your mind's playing tricks on you. What is a good way of phrasing this? You only like to go so deep with these people and then it's like it gets too real and you pack up and go. So just be cognizant of that if that's a repetitive behavior for you. Getting more comfortable with the idea of expressing yourself and yeah, opening up, being vulnerable. I know you guys are like, oh, that's the worst. Sorry. Don't shoot the messenger. So the solar eclipse in Gemini happened in your 7th house. So for a lot of you, that brought about probably a new chapter of some kind, a new chapter of singlehood, maybe, a new chapter of an entrepreneurial spirit, maybe, a new chapter of merging bank accounts, merging households, merging bodies in order to create a new life. I could see that happening too, but that's a huge area where there's a lot of intense energy right now, the self versus the other. You are being called to collaborate more in your life. And this is difficult to say. It's about being less self-focused, but with that, I want to say it's the same message. It's allowing yourself to open up to others and not carrying the responsibilities solely and individually. That's almost what I mean by less about the self. It's about sharing your life with others in a much more deep, profound way than you've allowed people into your life. And I'm sure you have your reasons, Sag, right? Everybody has a very complex, unique history, and I'm not saying that there isn't reasoning for why you choose to interact with people the way you do. But again, strictly based off the astrology, North Node in Gemini, no less, in your 7th house says there are partnerships that await you if you seek them out. And with that, what are you being asked to release or let go of? Do you have control issues, especially in dating? Control issues, especially regarding how much you choose to share or reveal about yourself, about your past, about your history. You may feel very conflicted about something that happened in your past, and maybe that shows up in, especially in dating, but in any sort of partnership. You may have been lied to in a relationship, and it really took its toll on you. And so maybe you may have trust issues, right? Just like the rest of us, right? That's not unique to you, Sagittarius, but it is more or less your responsibility to become aware of that and then work through it in a healthy way. You know, instead of just running from it. I feel like I give you that message a lot. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to attack you, but running from the problem only makes it worse. And I know you guys know that, right? So I am just going to reiterate that, but this looks good. What is this? There's a mother and child reunion. Does that make sense to anyone out there? Especially if you have a child who is estranged, or vice versa, if you are a child who grew up in a very, I don't know, conflicted household, or conflicted isn't the right word, a very, I don't know if unstable is right, but there may have been a lot of tension if you are a child of divorce, or for some reason, I'm getting the idea that at a relatively young age, you may have moved away from the family. It seems like you may be doing a lot of soul and shadow work to connect, especially with a maternal figure again, whether they are alive or not, because it's showing up in your 12th house, the house of sorrows, the house of what is hidden away. It's like the house of God. A lot of you, even if this could be really any family member, especially one who has passed, you may be doing some like trauma healing. Again, very profound, very like spiritual, all this stuff. It feels like you have a renewed interest or a newfound interest in spirituality, and again, something about language and communication. I don't know how to say this, like through different realms, like spiritual communication. I do like this a lot though. Healing and forgiveness, whether you're offering that or accepting it from another. I think you're going back to the root cause of some problems that you've been carrying with you for a very long time, possibly decades. Communicating with spirit guides. All right, let's transition in. I'm giving you, I know, some vague kind of conceptualized stuff. Let me see what else I can tell you. Yeah, Jupiter sitting in your 4th house. I think it officially has gone retrograde, so that especially reiterates to me Jupiter, Sagittarius, right, your ruling planet, sitting in your house of roots and home and ancestry, going back to the past to heal something that has long been neglected or long overdue to be healed, or at minimum just something it spun out of control the more you ran away from it or didn't interact with it. Something is requiring you to go back to the past and make amends or bridge the gap. The bridge of departure is what's shown in here, and then the bridge of arrival is shown, I think, in the 4 of Wands, which again is about partnerships and milestones. Interesting. So there is an upcoming milestone in your relationship with somebody. It could be to go back and fix a marriage. It could be something that transpired in a religious community. Interesting. Anyway. Could be something to do with a Taurus. Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to like pull cards. I'm like, okay, what about dating? But this seems so much bigger than just, who do you have a crush on this week? Like, I almost don't want to ruin it with that. Because the thing is, for those who this isn't your message, you've already clicked off by now, right? If you haven't, that's awesome. But like, I don't know. I guess I'll pull a few just to wrap this up, because these are some heavy messages. If you made it this far, thanks, Sag. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope this serves you. This is a week of not giving up, for sure. This is about persistence. Persistence in working through the uncomfortable emotions, and there will be uncomfortable, fluctuating, again, highs and lows, emotions, because we're in Cancer season. Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon, lunacy, right? Cancers frequently get slapped with the reputation that, you know, the crazy X's, because their emotions are up and down, up and down. Scorpio, too, right? Very intense, extreme emotions. But to them, that's normal, right? The moon, it fluctuates, it changes shape, it's constantly in flux and change. And so because we are all in Cancer season now, that's going to be a natural part of the process of living. The natural process of life for the next month is that changing emotion. And again, I challenging you to not look at it as a detriment or as a handicap. I think it's very much in alignment with what you're meant to do, is go to those heavy emotional places so you can cathartically clear it out and release what isn't serving you anymore. Because some of you still, this could be something that transpired years ago and you're still holding on to the heavy emotions tied to it. We got to gut it out, because it's at this point, it's just weighing you down. Maybe it happened for a reason, and maybe you don't understand what that reason is yet. All right. You may be having a new start with a Libra. You may be walking out of a marriage contract. There may be a reunion with a water sign from your past, because this water sign is able to give you something now that they weren't able to before, or vice versa. Again, something maybe with a Taurus here too. So in terms of relationship stuff. All right, that is what I got for you, Sagittarius. Please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week for more tarot. Bye, guys.